Hello, and welcome back to our Beginner's Guide podcast. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Lauren. We're so glad you could join us. Today, we have a really practical topic for anyone visiting the United States: hotels and accommodation.
That's right. Finding a place to stay can feel a bit overwhelming if you're not familiar with how things work here. So in this episode, we'll give you a complete beginner's guide.
Exactly. We'll cover everything from the different types of hotels to the check-in process, tipping, and how to find good deals. Let's start with the basics. What kinds of accommodation are there in America?
Good question. The most common you'll see are hotels and motels.
Right. A lot of people use those words interchangeably, but there is a small difference. Hotels usually have rooms that you access from an indoor hallway. Motels, which is short for motor hotel, often have doors that open directly to the outside parking lot. They were designed for travelers on road trips.
That makes sense. Then you have different levels of quality. You've got your budget-friendly hotels and your luxury hotels.
Let's talk about that. Budget hotels, like a Motel 6 or a Super 8, are great if you just need a simple, clean, and safe place to sleep for the night. They are very basic.
Yeah, you get a bed, a bathroom, and that's usually about it. Luxury hotels, on the other hand, are all about the experience. Think of brands like the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons. They offer many more services, which are called amenities.
Amenities. That's a great vocabulary word. It means the features and services a hotel provides. This could be a swimming pool, a fitness center, a restaurant in the hotel, or room service.
Okay, so let's imagine we've booked our hotel online and we've just arrived. What happens next, Lauren?
You'll go to the front desk or the reception area to check in. This is where you get your room key. We can even do a little role play. Ethan, you be the front desk agent.
Welcome to the hotel. Are you checking in?
Hi, yes, I have a reservation under the name Lauren.
Excellent. I see it right here. May I please see your ID and a credit card?
Okay, let's pause there. This is a very important step. For international travelers, your ID will be your passport. And they need a credit card, not just for the payment, but for a deposit.
Right. This is something that confuses many first-time visitors. The hotel will put a hold on your credit card. It's not a charge, but they are temporarily blocking a certain amount of money.
This is called an incidental hold. It's to cover any extra charges you might make, like from the minibar in your room, or in case there is any damage. The money is released back to your card a few days after you check out, as long as everything is okay.
That's a great tip. So after you give them your documents, they'll give you your room key, which is usually a plastic card, and tell you how to get to your room.
Let's talk more about those amenities. Two big ones are breakfast and parking. Many hotels will say they offer free breakfast, but this can mean different things.
Yeah, it could be a full hot breakfast buffet with eggs and bacon, or it could be what's called a continental breakfast.
Right. A continental breakfast is usually much simpler: coffee, juice, toast, and maybe some pastries or cereal. It's good to check what kind they offer. Same with parking. In big cities, parking is almost always an extra fee, and it can be expensive.
Definitely. Now, what about alternatives to hotels? Many people use Airbnb. What's the difference?
With Airbnb, you're renting a room, an apartment, or a whole house from a private owner. A big pro is that you might get a kitchen, which can save you money on food. It can also feel more like you're living like a local.
That's true. The downside is there's no front desk if you have a problem, and usually no daily cleaning service. Hotels offer convenience and service, while Airbnb can offer more space and a local feel. It just depends on your travel style.
Okay, let's shift to a very important topic: safety. What are some basic safety tips for staying in a hotel?
It's mostly common sense. When you're in your room, always use the deadbolt lock and the extra security latch or chain on the door. And use the in-room safe for your valuables like your passport, extra cash, and electronics.
That's great advice. And safety starts before you even book. It's so important to read hotel ratings and reviews.
Absolutely. Websites like TripAdvisor, Google Reviews, or the site you booked on are your best friend. But how do you read them effectively?
I always look for patterns. If one person has a bad experience, it might just be bad luck. But if you see 5, 10, or 20 recent reviews all complaining about the same thing, like dirty rooms or noise, that's a red flag. Pay attention to what people say about cleanliness, safety of the area, and staff friendliness.
Good point. Okay, a couple of quick but useful phrases. Standard check-in time is usually 3 or 4 p.m., but what if your flight arrives in the morning? You can ask for an early check-in.
You can politely ask, "Hi, I know I'm a bit early, but is there any chance my room is ready?" Sometimes they can accommodate you. If not, they will almost always hold your luggage for you so you can go explore.
The same goes for when you're leaving. Checkout is often 11 a.m. You can ask for a late checkout if you need more time. Sometimes it's free, sometimes there's a small fee.
Okay, Ethan, let's talk about something that's unique to American culture: tipping hotel staff.
Yes, this is so important. Tipping is expected for certain services. For the housekeeping staff who clean your room, it's polite to leave about $2 to $5 per day. Just leave it on a table or pillow with a thank you note before you leave for the day.
Exactly. And if a bellhop helps you with your luggage, a tip of $1 to $2 per bag is standard. It shows appreciation for their service.
Before we wrap up, what are some common mistakes travelers make when booking accommodation in the US?
A big one is not checking the exact location on a map. A hotel might seem cheap, but if it's very far from the sites you want to see, you could spend a lot of extra money and time on transportation.
That's a great point. Another mistake is not reading the fine print about extra fees. Some hotels, especially in tourist areas like Las Vegas or Miami, charge a mandatory resort fee per night. This is on top of the room price and covers things like Wi-Fi or pool access.
So always check the final total price before you book. Finally, how can our listeners find affordable accommodation?
Using comparison websites like Expedia, Booking.com, or Google Hotels is a great way to see many options at once. But it's also a good idea to check the hotel's official website directly. Sometimes they offer special deals.
And if your travel dates are flexible, traveling during the off-season, when there are fewer tourists, can save you a lot of money.
Wow, that was a lot of information, but hopefully it makes navigating the world of American hotels much easier.
I think the main takeaway is to do a little research before your trip. Read reviews, check the location, and understand the hotel's policies. It will make your stay much smoother and more enjoyable.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for listening.
Happy travels, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye!